survey. You might win $1,000. She goes, oh, that's great. I've got something for you too. And my heart sunk into my stomach because I know she's going to pull out a Jack Chick pamphlet, tell me that I'm bad, drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness and all this stuff I can't do because I sold my soul to the devil when I was 13. And instead, she pulls out this cheap, worthless, gold-colored piece of tin, little oval shape to it. And then she says the weirdest thing I've ever heard. She said, the Blessed Mother is calling you into her heart. And I thought, Blessed Mother, Isis, Gaia, I have no idea. I grew up Baptist. Mary gave birth to Jesus. Do you know what else she did? Nothing, because she gave birth to Jesus. We weren't taught about her fleeing into Egypt with Joseph and Jesus. And we weren't taught about the first miracle of Jesus because he turned water into wine and Baptists don't drink. So I never heard about that miracle until I became Catholic. You know, and that was like one of the first readings I got. So I never knew about that. So this woman tells me it's very powerful. Well, no, Protestants don't bless anything. So this woman represents some female deity cult. I'm not interested in joining her cult and then finding out that it's related to one of my other two cults. But, I'm just, whatever. And I kind of tune around. I go to my happy place and I think, how do they all find me? There must be a sign above my head that says, crazy, come here, and an arrow pointing down to me, and they all find me. And then after a while, I noticed, I have your money. You have the gold. This was win-win for both of us. Why are you still talking to me? And I tune her back in. And she says again, it's very powerful. You're talking to me. There's between 2 and 5 of us in the world. But that number could be as low as 1 or as high as 10. You're trying to tell me 7 billion people at that time that, and me being the only wizard, that this blessed, miraculous money can touch me. This can't touch me. There's no power. There's no mystique to this. I'm going to take this in my hand, feel that it's powerless. It's worthless. And I'm going to toss it on my floor, slam it on my counter, tell her how worthless it is. And if she gets offended, I don't care. You just offended me. Your comment just kicked me in the ego. I'm not down with this. If you decide you want to give me your money back, no problem. I'll give you your money back. If you get mad at me, you decide you want to call my regional vice president and you want to complain, my regional, financially speaking, my store makes its day, its weeks, its months, its quarter, its 6 months, and its year. No one's going to believe I smarted off to a customer and caused a sale. My manager's going to tell me she didn't like your hair. She didn't like your suit. She didn't like your cologne. She didn't like your tie. But it wasn't you. So I know I'm safe. I reach my hand out. She's all giddy because I'm willing to take it. She drops it in my hand. And I clench my fist around it, all ready to tell her all these things. Except that when I clench my fist around it, my store and my mall completely disappear. I'm standing in this darkened void. I am scared to death. Let's go back to me being the only 100% 7 billion people. I didn't have the magical ability to transport both of us to a darkened void by giving somebody a worthless gold-colored piece of tin and knowing all of their sins. Her magic is stronger than my magic. And I'm terrified. I wanted to get it empty first, but after being here for a minute, I'm thinking, he'll destroy me. But what if I let go of the metal and I just fall through this darkened void and I will find my way back? I don't know what to do. And she says again, the Blessed Mother is calling you into your army. And instantly, like a grace from the Holy Spirit, I knew that was the Mother of God, which is a very strange revelation for a former Baptist to have. We'd rather shoot ourselves in the face with a shotgun than say Mother of God. And when I realized it was the Mother of God, Mary appeared. She smiled at me, and it was a smile I knew I did not deserve. And she took me by the hand. She turned me around. Divine Mercy Jesus was standing behind me. I didn't know what Divine Mercy was. I just knew I had these rays of light shooting out of his heart, and they were hitting me like under me and over me and around me and through me. And in that instant, I knew I did not sell my soul to the devil when I was 13. I knew that Jesus Christ was my Lord and Savior. I knew all my magic, my occult, my Satanism, and my New Age. And I knew everything Catholic truth. And the Blessed Mother told me that my job was to help her end abortion. Now, the Blessed Mother didn't tell me, hey, we're going to go to Planned Parenthood for couples against the glass. He didn't tell me we were going to go to Planned Parenthood and kick them in the heads. He didn't say I was supposed to walk up and kick him in the eye. He said, your job is to help me end abortion. If the Blessed Mother is telling me that it's my job to help, then it can be done. And then I opened my hands, and I'm back at my store, back in my mall. This woman, Marianne Rickman, still talking to me. While she's talking to me, she tells me that she is Father Joseph Whalen's personal assistant, that he is so busy, he doesn't even have time to talk to her. She's the personal assistant. While she's talking to me, Father Joseph Whalen calls. He looks down on the phone and she goes, I got to take this. It's Father Joe. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, you do that. Now, at that time, Father Joe was starting to go deaf. So he thought like everybody else was going deaf. So everything he said on the phone, I could hear clear as a bell. And she's like, Father Joe, what can I help you with? Can you hand the phone to the young man you're talking to? So now I'm shaking like Ozzy Osbourne. And I take the call and I'm like, hello, welcome to the faith. Hand the phone back to Marianne. So I do that. We get 2 more phone calls from like that. Her daughter comes up to the counter and she says, can you bring this man one of each of everything? I wasn't Catholic yet. I didn't know what that meant. Her daughter went out to the car. We get these 2 other phone calls. Then the daughter comes back up. She's got a paper grocery bag filled with like, why do Catholics do this or believe that? A Catholic Bible and like 125 Lighthouse Catholic media discs. And then I got home later that day and greeted at that time, me and my wife had been married for about 3 months. Now we've been divorced for about 10 years. But at that time, I opened the door. My wife had been this fellowship Jehovah's Witness. And I opened the front door. She was doing the dishes. And I opened it and I said, hey, honey, guess what? I'm Catholic now. To the Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics are the mortal enemies. You know, one of them is Iron Man. The other one is Dr. Doom. So it was rough that first night. But the next day, I went to daily mass, and my wife went with me. And at the consecration, I see Jesus, and I was like, "Oh, what?" And I thought when I was given that miraculous medal, it was instantly Catholic, and I thought everybody in that church saw Jesus. I thought if you were Catholic, you saw Jesus, and I thought this is the best kept secret from me of all time. Had I known that the body, blood, soul, and divinity, my Lord Jesus Christ, was legitimately in the Catholic Church, I would have been there every day, and you would have had to wait until I fall asleep to carry me out, because I wouldn't leave. And I turned to my wife, I said, you see that? See what? I mean, up there on the stage. She was, that's the beast. The other guy. He's like, what other guy? He said, see it, but you're not Catholic. But then I found out that everybody in the room wasn't seeing that. And I was like, why? I can't be the only person seeing this. There's nothing wrong with my mind. I'm not schizophrenic. I don't know what's going on. I'm seeing this guy. He's a beautiful man. He's in the Eucharist. How do you guys not see this? And then they told me there's a place called Adoration. And we had one nearby. It's called Perpetual Adoration. And I could go see Jesus anytime I wanted. It's like, no way. No. Is there a sign-up sheet for that? Do I have to sign my name up? Then in 6 months, they'll tell me your 4-hour block of time is now. And if you miss that, you can't come back for 5 years. No, you just go. I think you don't understand. There's a line to get in to see Elvis, and he's been dead over 40 years. There can't be just no line to get in to see Jesus. So I go. And stop number 1, we are the only other car in the parking lot. Shop number 2, there's no line to get in. Shop number 3, we open the chapel door. It's me and my wife, this woman, and Jesus. And this woman has stuff spread all over the floor. She looks up at us like a deer in the headlights, and she starts packing her stuff as fast as she can go. If this was an Olympic event, she got gold. And when everything was packed up, she stood up and said, "You can't leave till someone else comes in." And bam, she's out the door. And I thought, why would I leave? I'm in a room with God. And that became my hangout every day, every single day, from anywhere from 30 minutes a day to 18 hours a day. And it was a beautiful experience. You want to have a good relationship with Christ? You want to have a good relationship with Christ? Go to adoration and tell him, hey, Zachary King said to come here, and all I see is a round cookie and the pigs. I would like to see you. And see what happens. You ask for miracles, you get miracles. You don't ask for miracles, you don't get them. So, and I will tell you that if you have seen the face of Jesus, you have seen the face of Mary. Just as when you see the face of Mary, you see Jesus. And they are both beautiful people. So I'm thinking, I believe, I think the latest Pew survey said that 15% of Catholics believe in the true presence. I believe in the true presence because I've seen him in the true presence. My first 3 years of Mass, every time the consecration happened, she's right there. Every time I went to adoration, Jesus was right there. And I was going to adoration all the time. And sometimes Jesus talked, sometimes he didn't. And we would sit there and enjoy the silence together many times. And, the first time I heard that prayer, I was like, that's pretty good. That's nice. But I was sitting there and it started bothering me that she asked me to help her end abortion. I did 146 assisted abortions as a high wizard. And I could stop myself from doing abortions, but I can't stop the world. So one day I told Jesus, I said, hey, your mom told me that abortion. Well, you were there. And I can stop myself. I can't stop the world. What do I do? And he goes, well, hold on a second. So I waited a little bit. And then Mary showed up and had her. And what she said to me was very short, very simple, very profound. She said, use what you know. Well, I know abortion is a satanic sacrifice. I know that if you're a Satanist and you pull out your bag of tricks that if you have to do a hex, which is the strongest spell the Satanist has, you have to do an abortion with it. And you give Satan what he wants, which is a dead baby. He'll give you what you want, but not to the extent of what you wanted. Say you wanted $1 billion and he gives you $1 million. No, $1 million is a lot. Unless you're trying to get $1 billion, then $1 million is like $1. It's not a lot. If you're wanting some executive position in a company and you abort a baby for it, you might get a job as a janitor in the company. You're not the executive, but you got a job in the company. You should be happy. The things that he gives you are not equal to what you give him, but he makes it seem like it can be. So I set out to make a DVD about abortion, and it was going to be called Abortion is a Satanic Sacrifice. And I contacted 6 companies about doing the graphic art on my DVD. And then when it came time for me actually needing them, all 6 companies backed out, said they couldn't do it. Like, they didn't have the education, they didn't have the knowledge, they just didn't have the skill to do it. And so it went from being a DVD project to being a CD. And when my script was done, it was going to take 2 CDs. And keep in mind that I was trying to record this for 3 years. Every time there seemed to be deadlines put on me by God. And I tried to meet every deadline and I failed miserably. I am not if you want to put me in charge of your project because you want your project to fail, by all means, give it to me. I can make it fail quicker than anybody else. If you're looking for somebody that can actually do the project and do a great job on it, definitely give it to someone else. I'm not that guy. Because every deadline I was given, I failed for 3 years. And finally, when I was done, I looked up, it would cost me to put it on a CD, which was going to be 2 CDs set. And it would come in a cardboard case called an Echo wallet. And to get that done and to make 1,000 copies of it was going to cost me $6,400. Now, I used to make my own CDs and DVDs, and I was tired of going to conferences and everybody's selling their stuff for between $10 and $20. And if you walked in with $5, you were walking out with your $5 and you didn't buy anything. And, if you had $10, well, then you might be able to buy one thing. Or if you had $20, you might be able to buy one thing. If I could make my own, found out I could make my own CDs and DVDs for 16 cents for CDs and 19 cents for DVDs. So I did that. I bought 5,000 paper sleeves and I made thousands of copies. But I was telling God, I sell my CDs and DVDs for $3 and $5. How many of those do I have to sell to get $6,400? I'll never make it. So I was like, listen. So I went to adoration. I'm sitting there in front of him, pretty much got my tail tucked between my legs. And I'm like, I know you gave me this project for 3 years. And it took me 3 years to finish it. And now it's done. I just have to record it. But I'm never going to have $6,400 that, so I can make these copies and put this CD set out. So if you want someone else to take over this project, they need to come up to me and say, hey, God told me to tell you this. I said, and if that person tells me that, I will hand over all my research, my transcript, everything I've got, and that person can put it out. It doesn't even have to be in my name, and my name doesn't have to be associated with it anywhere. It's not important that I get credit for it. It's important that the message gets out there. And I left it at that. I was like, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. I'm not going to feel bad if somebody else takes over the project. And I went home. And then the following Thursday, a voicemail message, and it said that this guy said he called and he wanted to donate some money to me, but he needs my address so he can mail me a check. So I called him back. His name was Mike Fowl. It said, I have a PayPal and I have Venmo and I have Zelle and I have Cash App, if you want to use any of those. And his words to me were, I don't use those new fandangle things. I believe in doing it the old fashioned way. You give me a PO box or an address, I'll send you a check. I was like, okay. So here's my PO box. And he said, I was in adoration on Sunday, and Jesus told me to donate $7,000 to Zachary King. And I thought, okay, who's Zachary King? And so he said, I left. And I went up to my friend Mike Fields. I said, I know Mike. He goes, yeah. So I called Mike and I said, do you know Zachary King? He goes, yeah. And he told me about you. And then he said, do you want a reference? Like somebody that endorses him? And he goes, yeah, if you got that, is it a priest? He goes, yeah, it's Father Anthony Gramlich. He's the rector for the National Shrine of Divine Mercy in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. That's the spiritual director. And he's like, okay, so we talked to him. And then he calls me up and gets my address so he can mail me a check. He said, do you know why I'm giving you a check for $7,000? No. And he says, because I was in adoration on Sunday and Jesus told me to. He said to write Zachary King a check for $7,000. And I said, do you know why he told you that? He goes, no. I said, because I was sitting in adoration on Sunday and I told him that I couldn't afford to make my CD set project and that I needed $6,400 to make it. And if he doesn't give me that money, perhaps he can give me a person that will take over that project for me and then they can put it out. And he goes, well, now, the project's yours apparently still. So he sent me a check. We made the copies. They sell for $15 each. I don't have any with me here today because I had sold Amber and Bob a bunch of copies of my book. And I didn't want to compete with them. I wanted them to have, if they're buying that book, they should have the rights to sell it and not have competition from me, even though it's mine. And people have asked me, does that bother you? I said, I've already sold the book. I'm not competing with them. So the copies made, and I took all 1,000 copies to the March for Life in January 2016. And most people, a lot of people didn't know me. There were some people that did. I got to sit at Joan Andrew Bell's merchandise table, and he endorsed me when I was there. But I only sold one. But what I did instead is that I walked around and I gave them to every priest I saw, every nun I saw. EWTN interviewed me while I was there, and I was giving them away. I gave them away to a bunch of seminarians. And when I was done, I had given away 900 copies and had 100 copies left. If I sold the remaining $115, I wouldn't have enough money to replace the 1,000. So then I had to go back to Mike Fields. First, I called Mike Fields and I said, this is what I did. And he goes, oh, that's great. I said, yeah, but I don't have enough money now to make another 1,000 copies. He goes, why don't you call Mike Fowl back? And I said, because I don't know how much money Mike Fowl was worth. What if that was his last $7,000? And I just showed him that I business acumen that he does. And I gave them away. I didn't make the money back on them. He says, do you know how much money my car is worth? I don't have any idea. And he says, his estimated net worth is $200 million. I said, oh, he can afford another 7,000. He goes, yes, he can. Go ahead, call him back. So I called him back, and I was very humble when I called him. And first thing out of my mouth was, I appreciate what you gave me before, but I don't have your business acumen. I gave away $9,000. And he goes, well, of course you did. You're trying to stop abortion. And I said, but I don't have the money to make another 1,000 copies. And I said, but 1,000 copies would cost this much money. So it was a lot less than the 7,000. And I thought maybe he would give me that. And he said, well, how about if I just give you another $7,000? How many copies can you buy of that? I said, I can buy almost 4,000 copies. He goes, that's great, do that. And then could I have 100 copies? I was like, yes, sir. He goes, you don't think that's too much? I said, I wouldn't have them at all if it wasn't for you. So I made just around 3,500 copies. And I gave him 100 of them. And he has had me, there's a man named Jack Ames that he introduced me to. And Jack Ames is with Defend Life. This is over on the East Coast. And Jack Ames has hosted me, I think, twice. And he books me at a bunch of venues. And, it was, we have now sold. And then after that had been out for a few years, people kept asking me for the transcript to the CD set. And I thought, right, let's turn this into a book. But there were some things in the book that I added that weren't in the CD set. Like in the book, I put Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I said, that's how we fight abortion in this country. Every year, we march to the March for Life. We send 500, 600,000, 1 million people to march, and we write new laws. And the next day, it's abortion, same as usual. So then the next year comes, and we send another 500,000 people to march, and we write new laws. And the next day, all the abortion mills are still open. We've been doing that since like 1972. And the abortion industry just keeps right on going. They ignore the march. The news coverage did nothing at the March for Life. Nobody knows it happens. It's not on the news. If the news crew does show up, they show the protesters. And they say, look, 30 people showed up to protest. They don't show the other 500,000 Christians that are marching. So I'm not really sure. I'm needing the abortion industry to shut down. But how do I do this on a global scale? So I decided I'm going to do it. And then I also, I have an endorsement from Father Frank Rubone at the end of the book. And that's been in there back from when he was Father Frank Rubone. Now he's Mr. Frank Rubone. And then I put in the 40 Days for Life. When it started, it wasn't twice a year, it was once a year. And in 9 years, they shut down the abortion mill in Texas with prayer and fasting. Now, it's 9 years, it's 40 days at a time. Got any math majors in here? What's 9 times 40? It's 360. So he chose to shut it down in 9 years because we did it 40 days at a time for 9 years. But God shut it down in 360 days. Do you think maybe the message of that was if you'd have stood out there for 360 days in a row, he would have shut down the abortion mill? Because I'm thinking that. I said, so I put that in there. And then I put out my book. Now, that came out 2018. So last year, 2025, and my CD set came out in December 2015. So last year, it had been out for 10 years. When my CD set came out, we had shut down, by using the methods that I tell you in the book, we had shut down like maybe 24 abortion mills. So there was 865 of them when my CD set came out. And I was curious last year, how many abortion mills have we shut down since 2015? Now, this would not be me standing out in an abortion mill shutting it down. It would be a priest going out there and doing a mass and doing an exorcism and doing a Eucharistic procession and doing prayer and fasting. All of that produces grace. And the Blessed Mother uses that grace for whatever she wills. But remember, the Blessed Mother told me my job was to help her end abortion. So she's using the grace to shut down abortion mills. And I checked last year in December, and there were 600 abortion mills from Planned Parenthood, which means 265 of them were shut down by Mary Grace. Then between that time in December and this month, there's been another 50 shut down. You give me another 10 years. You give me another 10 years and they might all be closed. Now, if I could just get somebody rich to decide, I'm going to give you $1,000 for every abortion mill you set down, I'll take it. My ministry can use it. So far, no one has gotten that idea yet. So I'm patient, though. So I'm looking at that, and we're heading towards the goal of shutting down all the abortion mills. Every once in a while, I still hear from Mary. I still see Mary once in a while. Every once in a while, I still see Jesus. And I tell you, their faces still look the same. And they are both beautiful people. And I think I'm trying to do my part. And I'm listening to God. I'm listening to Mary. And at some point, there's a woman running a merchandise table. Her name's Jacinta. And I talked to her on the phone one day. And I said, I got a strange story for you. So when I was on a visit, there was a guy named Steve that I knew just loosely. I wasn't really a great friend of him, but he was really nice. It was almost weird that he was a Satanist, because he was a good guy. And, he would cook brownies at home and bring them in. It's like, what kind of Satanist does that? And one day, I don't see Steve for like 2 or 3 days. And I asked somebody, hey, have you seen Steve? They're like, oh, he's dying at home with the flu. I was like, oh, okay. And they go, by the way, could you do some phone calls? And I said, hi, wizard. I don't do phone calls. And they're like, well, it's for Steve. And it's like, I could do some phone calls for Steve. He's a nice guy. He makes good brownies. So he gives me this sheet. And I was like, whoa, it's a lot of phone calls. So what is this? He said, on the back explains. And he put me in this room. And did you know there's 24 time zones around the United States or around the world? A lot of time zones. I have to call somebody in each time zone. And I have to remind them to do a Black Mass tonight. It's an extended Black Mass. It starts at midnight. It ends at 3 a.m. And you're consecrating all the days of abortions in your time zone to Satan and the Antichrist. And She says, have you told anybody this? I was like, yeah, I've told a lot of priests and a lot of bishops. What did they say? Nothing. And what do you think we ought to do about that? That's why I really think that we should do something to stop it, to stop the consecrations. I mean, masses would do great, but I mean, how am I going to get 24 priests organized that will do a mass during that time and also say a prayer during that time that will shut down the abortion mills? And so we started another ministry called Lady of Guadalupe's Army, Olga for short. That ministry is going to take on Satan head to head. Any idea how much time I've got? Nobody knows how much time I've got. So I've got this project that we were doing, and we had people that, I mean, I knew these people. I knew Christine Watkins, but she volunteered to have her son make me a website, and my website looks amazing. And now I can, I didn't have anything to do with it, so there's still some other things we need on the website. We need somebody that can do a program where the priest can sign up. And so far, everyone we've talked to doesn't have the ability to do that. And so we need that position. We have somebody that can organize all the priests and can verify that the person that's on the end of that email or the end of that phone call is a real priest. And, we just don't have, it's only the two of us, and we don't have foot soldiers in place that can do it. But imagine if we stopped the consecrations to Satan and the Antichrist, they would have the power that they have, but they wouldn't have more power, which I would think would upset them great. And, upsetting the devil is my job. And I used to have a priest named Father Cooney. He says, if you don't piss off the devil every day, you're not. So I figure that's my job. It paints a target on my own back, and it paints a target on my assistant's back. But she's my assistant here in Olga. She is an equal partner. And we are willing to take on the devil for the world. Our Lady of Guadalupe's Army is going to be a mighty force to contend with. The devil's not going to be happy. He already is not happy with All Saints Ministry, which is the ministry I have. Here, let me tell you how much the devil hates me. This is just a small example. I was in an exorcism in 2011, January or February, and the exorcist was Monsignor La Femina. This was in the Diocese of Venice, Florida. When he starts an exorcism, first everybody goes to confession. Then he holds a Latin Mass. At the end of the Latin Mass, he calls Satan before the tribunal of God. And he says, when you do that, Satan has to show up. And then he asks Satan about what right do you have to possess this person. Satan gives him the right that he has. Then he has that person renounce and rebuke those things. And then Satan leaves. And we start dealing with the weakest demon first. Satan appeared. He turned and looked at me. I'm sitting one row behind to his right. And he said, that Greek king is not welcome here. He's a liar and a traitor. And Monsignor grabbed a pitcher of epiphany water and doused him in epiphany water, which caused Satan to scream for about 3 minutes, which brought joy to my heart. And, then he told him, silence, you only speak to me, you know, spoken to. And then Satan, answered his questions and left. And then we walked into another room to take a break. One of the priests in the room said, Before we carry on about the exorcism, I just wanted to say that when Satan called you a liar and a traitor, he totally just legitimized you. So I was legitimized by Satan in an exorcism, which I think is pretty cool. So my book is out. My CD set is out. I have other CD sets and CDs on my table. And my ministry is going pretty hard, pretty strong. We've shut down, I think, 315 abortion mills of Planned Parenthood. And, we have like 500 something to go. I don't think it's going to take much longer. And then this year, I think we'll be incorporated and get a 501c for Olga. And then by next year, I hope we will be up and running and even more abortion mills were shut down. Thank you very much for coming.
If you want this, I guess it did.
I'm so proud to advance you. Oh, the sun, the sun, I did good the mother. The money, the boxy of love, on their way, she called us by name, not with the soul, but with truth of flame, and nation's glory is here by name, where the foot is heaven, not by the blood, he stood on what it retreats, and nothing to be